Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be discussing 5 habits that every successful person has and that you should be working on yourself. So number 1 is probably the most important habit you should be working on, and that is your self-discipline. Most successful people you see today on the internet via social media, Instagram, wherever, YouTube, the people that have the private jets and the luxury houses and vehicles and whatever else, those people you might look at and just be like, they had it made for them. And you might think to yourself like, damn, I wish I was in their position. Their life looks so easy. They have it made, they don't have a care in the world. They have money to afford whatever they want to take care of all their bills. And I'm over here struggling, and I wish I could be in their place, but I don't think I could. Most of us would probably tell ourselves like, it's impossible for me to get to that place. Like you see how far this person came or who they are, and then you compare your situation and it's like worlds apart. You feel like it's unattainable. But when you really narrow it down and you take the commonalities of all these successful people, and that is exactly what I did. I read up on plenty of successful people, and back when I used to think that way, I used to, kind of do the normal person everyday reaction to a rich person, like, damn, like it must be really nice to be in that position. Their life was probably easy growing up. Their parents had money. They don't know what poverty is. They don't know struggle. And obviously all that crap is like not true in most cases. As I've said before, most millionaires are self-made. So like 8 out of 10 millionaires are self-made. So with that being said, let's talk about number 1, self-discipline, and how these people have it and how you can apply it and start using it to further yourself. So when you think of the word self-discipline, you probably think of like somebody who is really good at saying no to something that's going to stumble them from their current goals, right? You think of like, the overweight person who is saying hell no to the junk food that's in the refrigerator or fast food or whatever, right? But self-discipline actually goes a lot further than just like surface level stuff. There are habits within good habits that need to be focused on and reoriented to get into your control so that your whole life isn't actually being, controlled or micromanaged by your addictions to things. So most successful people have very structured lifestyles, and if you talk to, or if you listen to like a podcast with a successful person, like a very wealthy person, they'll tell you that I have like my whole week mapped out from like waking at 6 a.m. to evening at 6 p.m. Every single thing is written down on a notepad somewhere or on their phone or something. And they basically have like a everyday planner for what they're gonna, a list of things to get done for that day. And so in order for them to stick to what they say they're going to do, they have to cultivate that number 1 thing, that's self-discipline. So the self-discipline is, again, it's not just the fat person saying no to the junk food. It's, okay, I told myself I'm gonna wake up this morning at 5 a.m. Did I do it? And if you did, then you can say, okay, cool, I did that. So now the next thing would be like, okay, so I woke up and I said I was going to go to the gym as soon as I woke up. Boom. Are you conflicted? Are you fighting with yourself to make yourself get up and go, even though the sun hasn't come up and, you'd rather just be sleeping, especially on the weekend, because that's like the most tempting time to like, I busted my butt all week. It's Saturday. No, that's when you should be really cultivating that self-discipline, because that's how you start building momentum and moving forward with, the progress. So the little things like waking up, telling yourself you're going to go to the gym, sticking to clean eating. A big one is like keeping yourself grounded and keeping your mindset steady. So like if you tell yourself you're going to maintain a positive attitude throughout the day, that's going to assist you in, the self-discipline part, because if you're in a positive mindset, you set your day up, you set yourself up for success at the beginning of the day, because you said, I'm going to be in this mood today, I'm going to be this type of person, and I'm going to stick to it. Even if things get to me, or if someone triggers me or says the wrong thing, you're going to stay in that level-headedness so that you can not focus on what's going on out there, but on yourself. One of the biggest setbacks when it comes to cultivating self-discipline is cheap dopamine, or cheap distractions or instant gratification. So scrolling TikTok, sometimes YouTube or YouTube Shorts, being too obsessed with checking your social media, your DMs, unless it's work related, it really isn't that important. More than likely, it's pushing you away from where you should be going. It's setting you back. So if you're, flipping open Instagram to check your DMs or to scroll and to get a cheap dopamine kick, you're probably doing it self-consciously. And that's when the self-discipline comes in, and you have to catch yourself when this happens and be like, no. So do yourself a favor, and you better uninstall Instagram completely or keep yourself in check. Because I know I still do it subconsciously sometimes. I eliminated most of my social media except for a few that are important. But none of them are used for scrolling or cheap dopamine anymore. I used to do it, and I'm cultivating the self-discipline to not do it. So when you get that quick, when you hear that ding or whatever, and you see you see the notification icon for like Instagram, YouTube, immediately that's like the first thing you do. You scroll down on your phone, you're like, ooh, and then like, boom, you're out of your self-discipline. You're letting your old program keep you where you are. So this is the hardest part about change when it comes to self-discipline, is catching yourself as soon as you start to drift back into what you don't want to be doing. I'm going to be making another video about cheap dopamine and how it also, sets you up for failure basically. But in this video, I'm going to be touching on it just a little bit. So with the self-discipline, again, most wealthy people have a very structured day. Again, from like 6 a.m. when they wake up in the morning, whatever it is, till their evening, concluding plans at night, everything is set out. If you really, look into what these people do, they have a list of everything they're doing, and they stick to it. So they're cultivating the self-discipline. They're not letting themselves get distracted. They're making sure everything's checked off on their list by the end of the day. And then that's when they start to permanently become that person who is disciplined. So cultivate discipline for yourself. Make sure you're not being easily distracted. Watch the cheap dopamine, the social media. And another one I will touch on real quick is obviously junk food and, fast food and stuff that makes you feel good when you eat it. It makes your brain do funny things. Your dopamine receptors are flooded when you eat sugary food, chocolate, chips, even like French fries, pizza, all that crap. Really, you think you're craving it, but really it's just your brain that's craving it. It's the dopamine. You need the dopamine kick. So that's where, once again, the self-discipline comes in right at that moment to realign you with the path you should be on. So I want this junk food. Your brain's like, no, I shouldn't. The conflict starts, and then you start over time. Even if you fail here and there, the self-discipline is being built. It's being built. It's failure. It's failure and getting back up, basically. So social media, junk food, waking up at the same time every day, these are good habits that will build with the self-discipline. So that's why I consider self-discipline to be like probably the most important. But moving on to the second habit, which is being goal-oriented. So what I mean by that is when you look into the lives of successful people, you'll notice that most of them aren't content where they are, even though they worked hard and they cultivated the self-discipline to get to where they are. They're never satisfied with that end point. There is always a next step. There's always a next goal, something to strive for. When an entrepreneur makes his first $1 million, you think he's content with the 1 million and he's just going to sit back and settle back into the old habits, the cheap dopamine. No, like these people set goals and the goals stack on each other, and eventually it turns into a game of evolution rather than a game of contentment when you reach a certain place in your life. Most successful people will set a goal for the next 5 years, for the next 1 year, for the next 6 months. So if that's not you, you definitely got to work on that. I know personally, I have at least 20 to 25 goals that I have for this year, some short-term and some aimed, targeted toward the end of this year. And my deadline is kind of like 2026. And every day I'm doing my best to work on them. So if that's you, if you're in need of some goals, you should have goals. Most successful people have them. And an example of a goal that you should be setting, if you haven't set any already, is just being a little bit better than you were last year. So if maybe you were bad with your money, or you were somebody that was kind of selfish and you noticed you weren't a good person and there were things lacking in your life, like maybe you're eating like crap, then focus on setting yourself like a 3-month goal of just cultivating better habits for your health, or for your relationships, like communicating, being more kind to people, just being overall like a better person, like taking care. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just try to focus on like taking small steps for the next few months for a short-term goal, just to better yourself a little bit. And you'll start to, as you do that, you'll start to realize, damn, I'm kind of proud of myself that I did that. Even though it wasn't anything major, it was something small. So when you start small, you get to that step, then you can go bigger and bigger. But it all starts with goals. Every successful person sets goals and they do their best to achieve those goals, and you should have goals. All right, this next one is very important as well. It's resilience. So this ties in with the first two. The self-discipline comes into play as soon as we're tempted to do something other than what we said we were going to do. So you said you're going to eat, rice, broccoli, and salmon, and you've got the pizza menu right in front of you and your phone right there, ready to, make a bad decision. So the resiliency comes into play, obviously, the same way the self-discipline comes into play. You need to be resilient in the face of temptation. And more importantly, later on in the day, let's just say you made it to the end of the day, you're mostly successful with your self-discipline, but all of a sudden you let your guard slip. You get tired and you're like, oh, I did well. Maybe I can just, make an exception. And that's when the resilience comes in. You're like, no, I need to continue to be self-disciplined. And even though I'm being tempted in the wrong direction, once again, my resilience is going to keep me grounded and going to keep me, on par with my goals. Another aspect of resilience is in the face of fear, when you are, trying to achieve your goals, when you come into an obstacle. So for instance, it's your first day at the gym. It's the beginning of the year. You've never been to a gym in your life. You have to walk in and maybe you're overweight and you're self-conscious, and you're afraid to walk past everybody who's in shape, who's been already going for the last 5-10 years. And your mindset is like, I'm not these people, I'm me, I'm fat, I'm self-conscious, whatever. Then you have to start cultivating that resilience, which is have a resilient mindset. Say, have positive self-talk, be resilient, tell yourself, no, even though I am walking, and I should actually be proud of myself. I shouldn't be comparing myself to others. I want to be where they are. Maybe they'll actually look at me and be inspired that I took this step to better myself, rather than staying home and forgetting all about my weight and letting my health go to shit. Another example of resilience might be, maybe you are starting a business and you need leads, or you need someone to sell to, and maybe you're just starting out fresh, you have no references, you have no experience, and so you might have to cold DM people, or you might have to cold email people, knock on doors, make phone calls. Then that's, again, when the fear kind of creeps in, like, the imposter syndrome, like, damn, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm cut out for this. The resilience should immediately come into play. And yes, you will fail a few times. Yes, you will be afraid to fail, like everybody is. That's the number one thing that holds us back, is being afraid of failure. So in this situation, the resilience is extremely important, because as soon as you have 100 failures, and then you have that one that's a success. So you send 100 DMs and each one they reject you or they ghost you or whatever. You have that one that's like, okay, I'm willing to take a chance. Then you realize after, the halfway point of the 100 DMs where you were going to give up, your resilience kicked in and it pushed you to get to the 60, then to the 70, then to the 100, and then you made progress. So most successful people started out with no experience, and they pushed on and they cultivated the resilience until they got progress. Okay, so moving on to our fourth good habit, which is a growth mindset, being growth oriented rather than stagnation. Successful people again, this will kind of play into the other good habits, because it all fits together like a puzzle. Everything works in tandem with each habit works in tandem with the other. So when it comes to the growth mindset, having a goal for the next year is important, but once you achieve those goals, then it's good to have, it's good to have a growth mindset for the next year after that, the next 2 years. You should never be of the mindset that once you get to this place, you stop and that's it. And this is kind of the evolution playing around. We are on this planet to evolve. And once you achieve a goal, you're never going to be content with just that set of goals you achieved. There will always be more to learn. There will always be more to strive for. And once you become the person who is growth minded or growth oriented, then you will always strive to be better. So again, maybe you lost 50 pounds and you stuck to your goals and you succeeded in losing the weight. Maybe you started a successful business and you made your first $20,000 a month or whatever. Or maybe you started your first YouTube channel and you got your first 100 or 1,000 subscribers, and then all of a sudden you get there and then you're like, I don't know what's next. Then that's when stagnation sets in, and that's kind of when things start to slow down for you. You're not setting goals ahead of that. It should be an ongoing process of growth. What can I learn this time around? Okay, I'm at this level. How can I get to this level? I heard a quote one time by a very famous multimillionaire. His name is Ryan Daniel Moran. If you haven't heard of him, there you go. Look him up on Google, go on YouTube. He's got interviews, channels. He runs a website called capitalism.com. And one of the things he says that's stood out to me that's extremely important when it comes to the growth mindset is that what got you, this is for entrepreneurs out there. So what got you to your first $1 million is not what's going to get you to your $100 million or even your $20 million. There are levels, there is growth involved. So the person that maybe made their first $1 million, they're not going to have the same business setbacks that somebody at 50 million or 100 million had to go through. They had to literally go through the successes and the failures in order to move up and up until they're at this level where they're really resilient and they're really, I guess, evolved, or they're just beyond where they were. Their growth mindset continued. There was no stagnation. There was always growth. So make sure if you are setting these goals and you're achieving them, make sure you have room to grow. Make sure because there's always room to grow. So make sure you're keeping an eye out on your growth. What can you do better next time? What should you strive for the next 6 months? All right, now number 5, the very last habit that we should be working on, especially if we got 1 through 4 down, is emotional intelligence. Or even if you haven't, emotional intelligence is extremely useful. So what is emotional intelligence? Most people will look at it and they think maybe it's just being aware of what's going on around you, how to react. And actually that's almost spot on. So being aware of how people react and paying attention to the behaviors and the attitudes of those around you who will either build you up or tear you down, help you progress in life or hold you back. It's also being able to pay attention to your own emotional intelligence to react the way you should in certain situations. For instance, maybe you landed your first business meeting with a company that potentially wants to work with your business. And maybe it's on Zoom or maybe it's in person. Let's say you walk into the meeting and you greet everybody and it's kind of like an interview. Everyone's kind of trying to read your energy. They're trying to see where you're coming from. Your emotional intelligence should kind of play off of theirs. So let's say you're in this meeting with this company that potentially wants to work with you. And it's kind of an interview atmosphere. So you're going to be reading the room. You're going to be paying attention to how they interact and trying to not be like them, but be yourself, but in a manner that reflects positively. Be empathetic, very importantly, show leadership, show that you have the quality of leadership. Kind of letting them see what they need to see is being emotionally intelligent. Because if you walk into an interview with important people and these people are like multimillionaires or 100 millionaires, whatever, billionaires, and the way they act is completely contrary to how you are when you walk in. You walk in, you're kind of just like, yo, what's going on, everybody? Yeah, I got this is who I am. Here's my resume. Check it out. you're not reading the room, you're not being emotionally intelligent. You have to make good decisions, and you need to conduct yourself in a way that shows that you have the emotional intelligence of somebody that is worthy to work for this company, and that maybe you can match this company's atmosphere. Again, this one sort of plays into the other ones as well, because in a situation where maybe you're in conflict with somebody or you get into an argument with somebody, let's say you get into a situation with a family member that is trying to affect your character in some sort of negative way, and you catch on to that and you see that they're trying to tug you in the direction of an argument or trying to break down your character and make you feel a certain way, that emotional intelligence will elevate you at a higher level to be able to gauge what they're doing. And it basically allows you to ground yourself and vibrate higher than they are, so to speak. So if they're trying to drag you down here, you gauge that, you're like, no, I'm not going to play your game. I am this person. I don't react like that. I'm going to stay up here. Then that's you being emotionally intelligent, and that's you showing the person that you are beyond their reach. You know, you are who you are, and using this tool of emotional intelligence will keep you there rather than stooping down to their level where they want you to be. Reactionary outbursts, anger, frustration, especially in front of people that you shouldn't be reacting that way to, is not a good thing. People that are successful often have very, very, very good emotional intelligence. They know how to read the room, they know how to interact with others, they know how to avoid others, and how to speak to others to kind of maneuver their way into the direction of what they want. As you progress in becoming the person you want to be and knocking down your goals, this emotional intelligence will come in handy, will come into play, and you will definitely need to practice this. Just like most successful people have today, you will have to have emotional intelligence at some point. If not now, definitely in the future as you progress. I hope you guys took some notes, and I hope some of these habits you can apply in your life, and as you start to knock down your goals, you start to use them more and more, and eventually become the person you should be and who you want to be most of all. All right, guys, that was it for the video. I hope you guys took some notes. I hope you paid close attention to the 5 habits every successful person has and that you must cultivate, especially number 1, which everybody, including myself, can use a little more of: self-discipline. Pay close attention to that, revisit that if you need to, and start practicing these in your life every day so that eventually you will become the person who is worthy of everything you set out to achieve. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.